Alright, I'm going to give you guys a quick walk around on my latest heist rework. Took inspiration from WW1. Really like WW1 tanks and that whole technology, that new technology at the time. Just kind of applied it to a motorcycle. Start at the front. I'll go ahead and preface everything by saying that everything was pretty much handmade. From scrap, inexpensive salvage parts, nothing pricey. I build on a budget, that much is for sure. Like I said, leaf spring front end works real well. You can soften or stiffen the ride just by adding or removing leaves. My design's a little bit different in that the axle actually travels back and up towards the neck, more like a telescopic fork. Just something I want to try. It worked out real well. If you guys have the Springer setups, you may recognize these rocker arms. They're just upside down and backwards. Work real well. Brakes all covered up. Lots of bolts, lots of rivets. This front paint scheme is actually from the tanks of that era. They had a hard time identifying who was who out on the battlefield, especially since one side had no problem taking over captured tanks and turning them around. So they started painting, good guys started painting these stripes on the front to help the troops know what was going on. Horn, some signal lights that they would use in the trenches back and forth if the cable lines got severed. This is just a regular canister style headlight made out of probably a 6-inch pan and sheet metal. Went with the lower handlebars, just a personal preference. Box on top comes directly from some designs that I'd seen from back in the 1920s. I took a lot of inspiration in the frame design from 1920s Indian Scouts. The Chiefs had a similar setup, but you usually didn't get to see the backbone running along the top like the Scouts. So fuel tank actually fits in between two members in the frame. And good sized tank, lots of fuel. Keep my gloves, maps, phone, whatever you want in there. I like these somewhat wider, earlier Harley seats. If you run decent springs, this wide surface area makes for a really comfortable ride. People ask me all the time, oh man, that can't be comfortable, can it? And man, it is. It's really comfortable. It's a good setup. Usually they would just have a real thin, maybe quarter-inch worth of padding and some leather, so there really wasn't a whole lot of padding. You get your ride quality from these springs. So running a manual shift. This helps out a lot with the trailer because at low speeds it's a little heavy, so having both feet down helps out a lot. And being able to shift with both your feet down gets you up and going a little bit easier. Foot panels made out of some old wood plank from a porch I demolished and rebuilt. Again, recycled. I do not use the Heist master cylinders for the rear brake. That actually needs to be attached to something. That's good to know. Anyway, much easier to bleed work with. You can put them anywhere. You can buy whatever size hose you want. Got everything good covered up. The wheel covers are 16 gauge steel. Actual panels themselves, you can't see it because it's behind them, but there's a slot cut out, and when you loosen the axle bolt they slide out to the back, so they don't make it really difficult to access the wheels for any other reason, maintenance or inspection or whatever, replacement. I hide all my electrics just like on the Heist. I even run my switches and stuff in there. Keep the wire clean, the wires cleaned up. I run carburetors that do not have the accelerator pump. My experience is that you just don't need it. These engines don't hesitate or bog down. And they're much simpler. You don't have to worry about adjusting something too rich or lean. It does have a manual choke on the other side. I got rid of the cables that run up to the handlebars. It's pretty easy to put your hand down here and hold the choke shut. Again, 250 single cylinder. Routed the exhaust to the other side because, as you can see, it's kind of busy over here. And just your slash cut pipe follows the line of the frame. And again, you know, this was another idea I had, is I wanted to drag a trailer so I could haul stuff from Lowe's or Walmart or wherever I went. So fabbed up a hitch and a pretty heavy duty universal joint. As you can see, it's just two pivots basically welded together, and it keeps it upright in relation to the motorcycle. So whatever orientation off of vertical this is, this will be too. Just like a universal joint on your ratchet set. It's flatbed trailer. Ammo box comes off. And then same design concept on the back wheel covers. These are heavier gauge steel. I decided it really didn't matter how much they weighed, within reason. These are much stiffer than the ones that are on the bike. And having developed these, this is what I'll use on the next project. Most of the ideas you see here are going to be used in the next project on a bigger, much bigger motorbike, so I can take it down the highway. Ammo can, or ammo box. I'm trying to think if there's anything else particularly special. I do recommend, if you're having problems with your speedometer, just get rid of your headaches, get a hold of one of these GPS speedometers. They only require one 12-volt source. You can put this antenna anywhere on the bike, facing up. I put it on here. I keep this unit as one because I can pop it off and put it on other projects just by disconnecting the 12 volts. So you can't ever ride more than one motorcycle at a time, so I just pop it off and put it on my other one, save myself some money. It was only about $70 brand new, so not a bad deal. And I think that's about it. I don't think there's anything else too terribly special about it. It does sit very low, and I'll show you next to the intact heist next to it there. The wheelbase is actually longer than the heist, but because it sits so low, it looks almost like a smaller bike. And that actually does kind of come into play if you're like me. I'm 6 foot and I haven't missed many meals, so sitting on a bike that looks smaller, something to consider if you guys are going to build your own stuff. If you're going to go low, you're probably going to have to go quite a bit longer just to get that impression of a right-sized bike. It has a lot to do with actually how high your handlebars are in your headlight, because I mean, this bike is heavier and longer than the heist, but the heist looks at least as big or bigger, and the heist is not a big bike. So I've got a big bike in the background. Of course, the angle is not gonna. Yeah. Well, anyway, the bike in the background is 10 inches longer and 6 inches taller than this bike, and it shows. But, you live and learn. Had a good time with this project. It runs great. I haven't had any issues. Learned a lot. Had a lot of fun. Learned a lot, and just want to share it with you guys. If you have any questions, just go ahead and ask me. I'm happy to help.